This content is brought to you by iTrust Capital, which is a great platform that allows you to easily invest in crypto without worrying about taxes or fees. iTrust Capital allows you to invest in crypto through an individual retirement account or IRA. IRAs are tax sheltered accounts, which means all of your crypto is tax free and can even grow tax free over time. The process of signing up with iTrust Capital is very easy. They have a mobile app. They have 25 plus cryptocurrencies. They have full support, a dedicated team ready to help you. And it is free. And once again, 100% free to sign up with iTrust Capital. There are no hidden fees and there's no monthly subscription or membership. They also have great security. They utilize Coinbase custody for all their custodial services. So you don't have to worry. It is institutional grade crypto custody that they are using. This is a great platform. Once again, it is free to sign up. So visit the link in the description and go check it out. If you sign up with my link, you get a $100 funding bonus. So once again, check the link in the description. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Ron Hammond, who's the Director of Government Relations at the Blockchain Association. Ron, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, Ron, you always have the most up-to-date information about crypto in Capitol Hill, and it was certainly a busy day for crypto in Capitol Hill. Can you recap for us what took place today and the significance of those respective items?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I will say, and again, I've been in this space for 5 years, both as a Hill staffer and now as a lobbyist. So, and it's been crazy just how some events that were, big for just for one day for a whole month, bandwidth wise, are now happening every single week. So I can't reiterate just how crazy busy it's been, and it's going to keep getting busier even with the election cycle coming. So for those who are unaware, today, let's say the 6th actually. So Secretary Yellen of the Treasury testified in front of the House Financial Services Committee, and this is an annual testimony that she has to give as part of her job as secretary. And so understandably so, a lot of the focus was on Russia and sanctions. And this is something that, at least on Capitol Hill, I'm getting questions from members of Congress all the time on this issue is, where's crypto playing a role here? This is more coming from the Democrat side of the aisle than the Republicans, but I think for the Democrat side, they're thinking, and this is more just like how they're viewing the issue, is that the ruble is going to plummet, and Russians are going to turn to real estate, to precious metals like diamonds and such. And then the third thing they think about is crypto. And so they think, that, and again, these are unsubstantiated, but these are just what their thinking goes, given who they are. And so even though they've had private briefings on this matter about whether crypto is being used for sanctions evasion or not, as well as public hearings like the one that happened today, these members still want to hear from Treasury and from Secretary Yellen word of mouth, is actually crypto being utilized to evade sanctions? And she said this before, and she'll say it again. It's not the case, actually. And Senator Warren, for example, and Representative Brad Sherman, they keep harping to both their colleagues on both sides of the aisle, saying this is a huge issue. But the folks who are regulating this space, as well as the folks in the administration who are on the same political party, are saying it's actually not. Your bill actually is pretty duplicative in terms of what we have authority-wise. So it's just really good, though, to have that on the record. And that was on the record several times from several members of Congress, including Representative Warren Davidson, my old boss, as well as Representative Anthony Gonzalez from Ohio, who's a Republican, and then Representative Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey. So, I mean, having that on the record has been really important, but just to further reiterate that to both the public as well as to members of Congress, that this is not an issue. So at least at this moment in time, again, maybe one day it could be about, down the road, but at least right now, to move large amounts of crypto, it's just very, very difficult. And she explained how the on ramps and off ramps are very well regulated, and it's very easy to catch as criminals, especially utilizing crypto. So that was a huge event, and we were glad to get a lot of questions asked in that hearing. But it's definitely still a focus for a lot of members of Congress, again, especially on the Democrat side of the aisle.
I'm hoping with her statements that this issue, so to speak, gets put to bed. And like you said, Senator Warren has been really beating the drum on it, but we're seeing not only Secretary Yellen, but other government agencies are saying there's nothing here. And even folks in the crypto industry have put out studies saying there's not enough liquidity. And if they try to do it, we will see it. will know what's happening at real time. So that's, I think, certainly a positive that she was well, also, I guess, a flip in her narrative from a while back as well, where I think she's turning a bit more pro crypto, it seems like.
Yeah, I will definitely say that her tone has been drastically changed, and I think a lot of that has been through folks in the industry advocating very well, both on Capitol Hill, but also to the regulators themselves, and as well as companies like Chainalysis, Elliptic, and others that have been doing a really good job of just showing the transparency of this, and then bringing it to the surface level so that the general public as well as members of Congress can see that, because a lot of the members of Congress are getting this through social media or through news outlets, which again are just using the word Russians may use crypto or they may try to evade sanctions with it. But these guys have the hard facts over at Chainalysis and other companies, and they've been able to show both the regulators as well as Congress that this is not the case. And so, but I will say, in the years that I've been, was writing questions versus, a congressman on Secretary Yellen, this is the first time I've heard her say, look, we got to protect innovation. We got to make sure it happens here. We got to make sure that the United States leads in this area. We got to protect consumers, but at the same time, let's not stifle innovation. And that's huge. I mean, that's been a really new posture from her in particular. And again, in the past, she's been more on the negative side. If you may recall that one hearing years ago, actually, I was there in person, where the people had the buy Bitcoin note behind her at the hearing, and that went viral and such. We have come a long way from that moment to where we come now. So I think that should be celebrated, and folks should recognize that she's doing a really good job.
For sure. The other big item was Senator Pat Toomey. He introduced some stablecoin regulations. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure thing. I mentioned the stablecoins have been kind of top of mind before sanctions really came into play. Back when Russia invaded Ukraine. But right now we're seeing the stablecoin work. These have been about months in the legislative process, finally come to light. There's going to be more coming out later on, but this one's really important because Senator Toomey is the ranking member of the Senate Banking Committee, and so he holds a lot of power. Even though he's retiring at the end of this year, his view is very important because he, I'd say, represents a general Republican view, but he is the lead Republican on the committee. And this bill is a pretty well-tailored bill. We've seen some bills recently. For example, Senator Hagerty from Tennessee and Representative Hollingsworth introduced a bill last week that was more focused on odds and reserve. It was a pretty small bill. This one's a lot more comprehensive. It talks about a new federal license for stablecoin issuers. It also says that insured depository institutions are permitted to issue stablecoins, which is huge, and then preserves the state money transmission laws that are currently in place right now. So there's a lot of other, privacy and consumer protection elements included as well. But this is the first major comprehensive legislative action that we've seen so far in Congress. I will reiterate, there's probably more coming down the pipeline that we've been working on with several offices. But I will say this is definitely the most comprehensive. And I think the path forward for this legislation is it's going to be tough to get a bill like this through, or any bill on stablecoins right now. Again, solely because the election's coming up pretty soon. Congress has a lot on their plate right now. And there still needs to become a meeting of the minds here. We're coming from the presidential working group recommendations about how to regulate stablecoins, which says only banks can do it, for example. But then we have this proposal, and now we've got to find a way to meet in the middle. And I will say, at least the House Democrats, especially the younger ones like Representative Auchincloss and Torres, are not in the same camp as the Biden administration on regulating stablecoins. And so we've seen a generational difference where a lot of the younger Democrats and younger Republicans in the House said, I think we should go about regulating stablecoins in a different way. And Senator Toomey actually shares a lot of those views as well. So would we be able to have a couple Republicans and a couple Democrats come together for a comprehensive, cohesive bill? Potentially, but realistically, it's probably a 2023 thing. But even though Senator Toomey won't be here in Congress in 2023, bills like this still live on and will likely be introduced by either folks in the House or another senator down the road. So I think this is a really good first step, and it's a really good bill, candidly.
It's really awesome to see that there's a lot of bipartisan support for crypto, even though these folks don't agree on a lot of issues and items. And on that note, there's been items making the news round. Senator Gillibrand and Lummis are working on a bipartisan bill for crypto regulations. What are you hearing about that, and any details that you can share?
Yeah, of course. So we've been, in talks with Senator Lummis' office for quite some time on this legislation. It's pretty robust right now. It's a very large bill, even though it hasn't been publicly put out yet. But I think there's still going to be some changes that be made. At the Politico event here in Washington, D.C., where Senator Gillibrand as well as Senator Lummis both spoke at the same time about the legislation. Senator Gillibrand mentioned that there still need to be several changes that need to be made for her to fully sign on. So she hasn't fully got on board yet, but she said she's very interested in legislation and she wants to work with Senator Lummis on this. So again, I will reiterate, it's still not a done deal yet, but she mentioned that there's a lot of provisions she likes about it, but there's some that she wants changed, most notably on the climate side. Whether this is coming from the New York activities recently in the state assembly or more just her personal views, I'm not sure entirely, but she wants to make sure that the climate question is answered in her mind on the disclosure side. And additionally, I think there's some more concerns about making sure it's a little more tailored, because at least right now, as I've seen the bill, it's pretty large and encompassing. It covers a wide variety of topics. And that's hard to move legislatively. So more narrow and tailored bills, similar to, again, like Senator Toomey's bill, those have a lot higher chance of passing just because they're getting more prescriptive. So timeline wise, we'll see what happens. These negotiations still take a while to occur. And I'm sure Senator Lummis will give an update at Bitcoin Miami about what else potentially is happening on this front. But at least in our conversation, it's still a few weeks out, and maybe a few months out, as they still try to come mesh together and fully get on board with each other.
It seems like there's just a lot of moving parts and components now with crypto regulations and bills. It's quite a few folks are putting together items and trying to push it through, which is good. Hopefully we can get some things pushed through as fast as possible so we have clarity. Final item I wanted to ask you about here, and that is a bill called the El Salvador Act, Cryptocurrency in El Salvador, or Accountability for Cryptocurrency in El Salvador Act, introduced by Norma Torres and Representative Rick Crawford. What do you know about this? And I know it's not being met with, any type of favorable sentiment. So what are you hearing about this?
Yeah, it's a study bill. So a lot of things in Congress, they start off if you want to get like a certain policy implemented down the road, usually it's a lot harder of a lift to get that done right off the bat. Usually you got to introduce studies, have the agencies or relative groups look at it, the issue, and then present recommendations on policy of what to regulate or not regulate. So study bills are actually pretty easy to pass. I'd say you could pass a bill, for example, on stablecoins and just say, let's study stablecoins. And that bill could easily pass from both sides of the aisle. But when you have a prescriptive recommendation, that's a lot tougher because are some dividing lines to be generational or party or what have you. In terms of the ACES Act, this bill is, at least the one from the members you mentioned earlier, since Crawford and such, and Torres, different Torres than the one in the House Financial Services Committee. This bill is actually the House companion to the Senate companion that passed the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So this is a study bill. It looks at the El Salvador's legal tender for Bitcoin and says, what are the potential risks, what are the potential benefits? And then, how are things like money laundering potentially occurring or not at all? So, these are coming from a different committee. These are the folks that the industry, including myself and others, we don't go too heavily into the Foreign Affairs Committee or into the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, solely because those guys don't have the jurisdiction over the banking regulators. So a lot of our focus is on those committees of Senate Banking, Senate Finance, House Financial Services, Ways and Means. So this is just a study bill. These are members who really aren't engaged on this issue, but they're hearing that Bitcoin's legal tender, and in their minds are going to say, well, aren't the drug traffickers just going to go straight to El Salvador and launder all their money there? We know that's not the case, but for those who are unaware of the industry, this kind of takes that educational step. I will say, one comment I've gotten about this bill is, it's a study bill. It's not anything that folks should be really concerned about. Even if it goes to the president's desk, this is just a study. And there's been studies on this topic already, and we already know what the answers are. But this is just Congress saying, look, this is something that we're concerned about. These are members who really aren't engaged on this issue. Second, I will say it's not helpful when the El Salvador president is tweeting pretty vitriolic things at the certain members of Congress. If anything, that's actually made their stance saying this is an issue or this might be an issue. This guy's being very defensive about the posture his country has taken towards legal tender with crypto, and him trying to put us on blast on Twitter is making us think maybe there's something we should look at here. So I think the folks who are trying to say this is a major issue is actually now turning it into a major issue and further incentivizing folks to look at this in a negative light. And I'd say, and I've been trying to tell the industry, folks in the industry as well as folks in the public, that this is just a study bill. It's not that big of a deal. But the reaction is now trying to make it that they want to get more heavily involved in this. So I've had to go to these offices actually recently and kind of calm them down. Like, look, the industry is just overreacting to this. This is, we understand it's just a study bill, but I will harp that these comments are not helping here in DC, and it's actually making folks think in DC they're hiding something, which we get. We know it's not the case, but that tends to be the reactions, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. Yeah, with his respective tweets. Ron, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for the updates. And I'll, of course, want to have you back on as things progress.
Of course, really appreciate it.